welcome to the Marathon Medic podcast. My name's Amy and I'm a junior doctor and running coach based in London. In this series of the podcast, Running and Me, I'll be chatting with runners about why they started running and the benefits it's had to their health, both physically and mentally. On today's podcast, I'm lucky to be sitting down with James Holt to talk about everything running. He's not only a very speedy runner himself with an impressive half marathon time of 1 hour 14, but he's also the captain of London Midnight Runners, a club that describes themselves as the friendliest global running club and fitness community. He brings the energy to this club week after week and also runs their weekly track sessions. So James, welcome to the podcast today and thank you for taking your time out to speak with me.
Thanks for having me, Amy.
That's okay. So as you know, this podcast, I just start them all off by asking you exactly how you got into running and where it all began.
Yeah, so it's a long time ago now, a completely different world. But my girlfriend at the time wasn't really a runner, didn't do much sport or anything like that, and just off the kind of bit of a whim, I'm going to a half marathon, and I thought, why not? Like, let's do it together. Started running, and after, I don't know, maybe a couple of months, I thought, I've got a bit of a knack for this. I started enjoying it more. That initial sort of 6-week period, you always hate it because it's something completely new for your body and you don't really know what's going on and you don't understand what gear you need, and every run you're getting out of breath, and eventually it started clicking and I could see the benefits and I started actually wanting to go out for runs.
Okay, so. How old were you when that started? Because you're such a good runner and so into it, I just assumed that you'd always ran throughout childhood.
No, I think it was must have been maybe 5 years ago now. I didn't run as a kid. I just sort of did the classic stuff of just playing football. Mm-hmm. But no, never particularly enjoyed running, never did any training. And I always thought that's just a boring thing that people do because there's no goal, you're not chasing anything, there's nothing to kick. There's no teammates. I've got to admit, because I was all right at it, it made it easier for me to sort of get more into it and enjoy it more. But again, it was just going out on my own and I wasn't doing races or anything like that. I just sort of quite liked getting some fresh air, being active.
And I think when you said in the first 6 months it can be difficult, but I think actually with running you notice an improvement really quite quickly, so that can be quite motivating to keep going.
Yeah, once you've got over that initial hump, for sure. But sort of learning how to sort of do it properly, like any new skill, is, I'd say, worthwhile. But it does take a bit of perseverance, like any new habit.
Yeah. Can you remember what your first race was?
Ealing Half Marathon, 2014, I think. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I went with my best friend, my girlfriend at the time, and her sister. And I remember having a bright red Casio watch. I had these like kind of, they weren't like lifestyle Nike shoes, but they I'm not sure if they'd even have been in the running section of the like Sports Direct wall. Other brands are available, but it was like there were these weird sort of green sort of they were Gore-Tex, they were like waterproof.
But I think that is the good thing about running, is you can literally just put on a pair of half decent trainers and step out the door, and you don't have to go to a swimming pool or you don't have to join a team. You can literally just step out the door and start doing yourself.
100%. That, like, the simplicity and how it just can completely break down barriers between people, like regardless of class or like gender or anything else. It is amazing. And even now I think I've got a lot of running gear, but it's still a lot cheaper than a carbon fibre bike.
And you've kind of gone from having not been running, say, 6 or 7 years ago to now being the head of Midnight Runners London. You're the captain. How did you get to that point?
Oh, yeah. Again, like, this is just completely my life now. On like a day to day, there's always something going on with Midnight Runners, and all of my closest friends and people I spend time with are from Midnight Runners. When did I start going? It must have been just under 5 years ago. So I've been running a bit by then, maybe 6 months, and girlfriend at the time saw it on Instagram, and it was maybe sort of 30 people. She went down, said, "Oh, this is really cool. It's really fun." Because before then, we'd only been running on our own and a bit together. And I came down the next week and kind of immediately loved it. But I was sort of lurking on the edge of the photos, just edge of the group, and I gradually started chatting to more and more people. And then over the next few months, like the group itself was growing quite a lot. I think they were big on like social media and sort of posting photos and tagging people in the photos, and I think word of mouth, because it was quite different. There's a lot of people now who've sort of other running groups who've started running with speakers, and it's more on that kind of filling that sort of social, making friends side of things. But back then, most of the running clubs were more of the traditional athletics club, performance based. And I remember I went to a session of a local running club, and I just turned up and no one spoke to me, and it was like, right, we're doing kilometre repeats, off you go. And the coach spoke to the fast people and gave a firm nod to everyone else, and I was like, I'm not coming back to this.
I can remember when I first came to London, I joined a Harriers group, and I was so new to running, I didn't really know what Harriers meant, so I just turned up not realising that they were a very intense running group.
Yeah.
And they ran off and left me, and I was just lost in the middle of
That's
London.
so awful.
It was horrible. I honestly just moved, and I never went back. I was just mortified.
That must have like delayed your running journey as well.
Yeah, then I found another group that was a lot more social, not like Midnight Runners with the music and the kind of social media use, but a lot more inclusive, which was really nice. But yeah, that first club, I can remember thinking I can never join a running club again.
I just think like so many people would have had that experience, and running itself is like you just said, it's so simple and pure and like easy to get into. But then if you have a negative experience where you think that this is what running will eventually be, that's not what I want, and then you don't do it, because like any hobby, you could be a painter and do it casually and not be very good, but you just you have a few brushes and you just kind of play around at the weekends. Like running could be like that. It doesn't have to be trending towards some like performance based.
Yeah, because there's so many reasons to run. It's not
absolutely
for speed and races.
Yeah. So for Midnight Runners, it was I was just completely thriving off the energy of the group, and I knew most of the people there after a month or so, and then I started getting more and more involved and finding my voice a bit and sort of coming out of my shell, because I was quite an introvert person, but I wanted to try and be more out there and sort of meeting new people, and like, because I had a bit of confidence because I was all right at running at that point. I think that gave me a bit of a platform to kind of grow. And then after I think a couple of months, I was asked by the original founder of Midnight Runners, a guy called Greg, if I'd like to sort of help out to be one of the crew, one of the organisers. So absolute privilege at that point. And then so did that for another couple of years. So we were sort of planning events and organising runs and sort of bringing the energy and just chatting with new people, which was again such a amazing journey, like life-changing journey. And then sort of fast forward then a couple of years, so Greg, the founder, was kind of moving on to other things, and I sort of picked up Midnight Runners in London. So now I've got a team of 20 people who help organise the runs and plan events, and I hopefully guide them in some kind of sensible direction. And like the hardest thing is honestly just trying to, everyone's got so much passion and energy for the community and for what we do. It's just trying to channel that into something that's kind of cohesive and can end up with fun events and stuff that brings our community closer together.
And how do you keep coming up with the events? Because there is so many social sides of this group and parties and running ideas, themed runs, and I just wonder who's coming up with those ideas and how you keep it new week after week. And you particularly take the track sessions. How do you come up with those session ideas as well?
Yeah, it's like I say, it's there's so many ideas and there's kind of passion that's shown in different ways, and we can't do everything because at the end of the day we're all like unpaid volunteers, so we've all got full-time jobs. But without getting into kind of too much like operations and logistics chat, which I don't think will be exactly what your listeners want to hear to right now. It's, I think, kind of just giving people the empowerment to sort of do things and sort of say nothing's out of bounds, and if you want to do something, we can probably make it happen, or we can like slightly shape the idea to make it more applicable. And at the end of the day, our community are the people that make it great, because they're the ones that turn up to the event, and it might not be super polished, or the route, we might get a bit lost or whatever it might be, but at the end of the day, it's almost less about the activity or the event or even the running. It's about the people that you're sharing it with. And what's so great about Midnight Runners is that I know, regardless of what we're doing, we could do a tour of the best mud in London and people would turn up and we'd have great fun because the core community is so strong, and like, you know, friendships have blossomed out of that. So I can count on them to turn up and make anything we do fun.
And you also kept mentioning when you're describing Midnight Runners energy, which I think is one of the best descriptive words.
Yeah.
But I'm just, on Tuesdays it's quite a late session, and obviously, as you said, everyone has full-time jobs. I think it can be difficult for even the runners to turn up. Sometimes you can feel quite tired after work. How do you turn up and have the energy that you do you almost make it like a party run week after week? So where do you get the energy from?
Yeah. So looking behind the curtain, at 7:25, I am still kind of reeling from the day of work, and I'm just like, I hate everything. I want to go home sometimes. Just seeing the group of like 100+ people stand there, and they're all kind of excited and they're chatting. You just kind of feed off the energy, and there's a kind of weird thing where you almost need to make peace with it being this crazy wild thing, and just let it like overwhelm you, and then you just kind of get into a rhythm with the group. And it sounds a bit weird, and I'm sure there's probably a more eloquent way of saying it, but whatever has gone on in my day and whatever's kind of on my mind just completely disappears, and it's just all about how can I have a great time, how can they have a great time, and you both kind of fulfill that with each other. And it's hard not to be smiley when you see everyone cheering and chatting. And, you know, at the start of every run we make sure we say, introduce yourself to some new people, like have some conversations, and people are turning around and they're sort of forging those new friendships and welcoming the first timers. Like that didn't happen to us the first time we went to our first running sessions, and it's just hard not to be like immensely inspired by all of that going on and enjoy it, and then kind of go, wow, this is kind of great, and then all of a sudden you're out of that rut from work, and then the energy is there, and then that just goes on for the rest of the night.
And I guess you kind of touched on it already, but how important do you think having that sense of community is for people? Because I guess you get to see people joining as new runners, and then, you know, a year later still running with Midnight Runners, and what difference do you find that having that running community makes to them?
Yeah, the community is like absolutely core to what we do, and then I think making it a place where, as I said, it's encouraged to speak to people, and like breaking down those boundaries and the new people, because, you know, we're doing a shared experience. That makes it easier as well. So everyone's there; they all know that they're coming for this 10K run. So what it means for the people, I hope it means that they can kind of come to somewhere after a stressful day at work and relax whilst sort of keeping fit, because, you know, you're getting the physical benefit, you're getting the mental benefit, and a lot of people do come on their own. And people, I think it started actually Midnight Runners back in the day with Greg and his sort of co-founder Christian. They were both new to London. They weren't British, and they started building up this really like multicultural group of people who were just looking to make friends, and that there was no real agenda. And I think that's kind of stayed true to this day. And, you know, I remember when I was new, it was always just exciting chatting to new people, hearing their story into running, because everyone's got something to tell. They've got ups and downs, and then you sort of start growing together, and then you start like building these deeper and more meaningful friendships. And then for me now, like, I don't think about running at all on the Tuesdays. I'm just thinking about the people. And, you know, from anecdotally the others that I've spoken to, it rings true with them as well. Like the workout and the running are kind of secondary. It's just like, oh, I had a great chat with X and Y tonight, and oh my God, did you realise that this person has just done this? And yeah.
Nice. I think that's the best thing for me about running, is because you can change your physical health through so many different sports. But running is pretty much the only thing I can think of off the top of my head where you're chatting for the duration, if you want to be. Because I love swimming, but I go to the pool and I've never made a friend in the pool. I just go and I come back. And it's great, but it is something I definitely just do very much alone, and it's not a social thing for me. So that is the beauty of running, I think.
Yeah, it can be kind of whatever you need it to be at the time. So I've had some sort of tough times in the past where all I've needed was to just go out on an hour-long run, and it's kind of grim outside, and you just get your gear on, you just start running, and the kind of clarity you get to either explore or give yourself some perspective in the in like the mental side of things, and I've definitely found it a great way to sort of to calm down, or just escape other things I've got going on. And then on the same time, if I was looking for someone to sort of confide in, or I just wanted that sort of social element, I could go on and run with one other person, or you go with the big group and you have the energy, and like each one's offering a different amount of either distraction or stimulation or escapism or whatever it might be, but all of those are kind of leading into this one point of improving mental health. So I've got a lot out of running in that regard, and I'd encourage anyone to get into running, because you can have all of those options. It's become my life. There isn't an hour of the day where I'm like running hasn't crossed my mind, and whether it's something to do with sounds a bit.
Have you got a problem, James, we need to talk about?
I was going to say every minute, but that's a bit full on. It's whether I'm thinking about some midnight runner activity we've got going on, or some planning we need to do, or it's my own personal things like, oh, I really feel like going on a run tonight, or what am I going to do, or I've had periods of my life where it's been a bit more focused on performance, so it's what do I need to do to fulfill this goal that I've set myself. But I can't imagine not ever having running in my life. Like it shapes the holidays I go on, the activities I do. Pretty sort of fit and healthy for a 30-year-old guy. Unfortunately, it does still mean I get ID'd, but I've been told that when I'm older I'll be thankful for that. And then, as I said, the mental side. Every week, I'd say one of the runs I'll go on will have almost a mental health impact at least, because there'll be something that's going on in my head, and you don't even need to purposely set like I will solve this problem by going for a run, but I just get out there and I just find myself arriving at solutions, or like that clarity I spoke of before, which is kind of nice, because it just creeps up on you. And it's like the people that make time to meditate. You go out there and you make time to run, and you'll just find yourself in a better space.
I think you can do running very mindfully as well if you remove the music and you're literally just focusing on the sound of your footsteps or the feelings in your body, and you're not actually thinking about the problems in your head necessarily, but it gives you that break and the pause, and it almost is like meditation or mindfulness, because you're just focusing purely on your body sensations and actually pushing away the problems that you have just temporarily for that hour that you're on the run by yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Like I always find myself sort of tuning in on my breath, and then I'm reading a book on meditation at the moment, which I'm terrible at, but it's you're completely right. The sort of parallels between the two are definitely there. And when I'm like out on a run, and it's like, oh wow, I've actually just like calmed my heart rate like 20 beats, and you're in this almost like Zen state where you're not even thinking about the running, and your mind's just completely unlocked. It's really nice, weird, isn't it? But it's kind of
you need it sometimes.
Yeah, and you kind of want to encourage people to be open to that, and I'm sure there are sort of techniques and ways that you can kind of promote it more in your own running, but I think having that mindfulness element to it, or just going out there and just seeing what happens, and trying to relax rather than always being performance focused or always running with music because that's just what you do. Just try it with nothing. Just try it on your own and just go out and run.
Do you think there's been a downside in the past to being performance focused? Because obviously everyone knows how fast you are. You've got some very impressive times, but I'm just wondering if, when you set those times, there's that sense of, oh my God, I've done this is great. But I often find afterwards there can be a dip where you think, oh, well, what next? Or there's that pressure the next time you turn up to a race, and you actually don't want to get that super speedy time, you want to enjoy it, but everyone's expecting you to get the 1:14 half marathon, and you're like, no, I've done that. Why can't I enjoy this race? Do you feel that pressure?
Like you're so right with all of that. I do feel the pressure. But sort of back through your question, as I said before, there's been times where I have been sort of focusing on performance and either hitting those goals or missing them, and the whole journey as you develop before them and towards them, and the sort of resilience you build up mentally and physically. I think is valuable for like personal growth. You learn a lot about yourself, and it gives you that, you prioritize, and it's what do you cut out, what do you do more of, like how can you maintain a healthy balance, and what problems kind of arise from it, and you learn more about the sport that you love, which is all great. And I've enjoyed the times where I've had more sort of focused periods of training, like for a specific goal, and it just makes it so much sweeter than when you hit it, if you hit it, and then if you don't, you can hopefully take something positive from it in terms of like learning a lesson, or learning something about yourself, or even learning what you like. Because I know plenty of people who are very good at running, and they just choose not to pursue the time-based element of it, because at the end of the day it is all arbitrary, and unless you are being paid to run, then you should probably enjoy it first. And that's kind of what I've always used as my like guiding principle. And like, yes, I'm a pretty good runner, and I enjoy running fast, and I occasionally enjoy giving myself a period of focus in terms of achieving a performance-based goal. But the two downsides that you picked up on was, once you go down that path, it's hard not to get sucked into it, because there's always faster. And even if you set a nice round number that you will arbitrarily hit, honestly, within a minute of finishing the race, your head starts going, oh, but it would be kind of nice to get this. And I think that's toxic. It's absolutely toxic.
I do wonder how long you enjoyed the high for, because I don't think it lasts that long, because I think you can always think, oh, I could have got faster, or next time I'm going to get faster, or somebody's going to expect you to get faster next time. And actually, if you step back, I don't think anyone really cares about running other than us, and that's how it should be. But it doesn't feel like that sometimes.
Exactly. And again, like, everyone knows this, but the impact of like social media, Instagram, all that stuff, people don't say, hey, just kind of enjoying my running how it is right now. And it is usually, and everyone does it because you want to share your best moments, but it's just remembering that everyone is sharing their highlight reel and not the behind the scenes, which is more of the day to day. So I've really tried, if I have just had a performance that I was proud of, to really take the time and remember the journey I've been on and appreciate it. And then after that, then I will set a goal that wouldn't be performance based. So at the moment, I'm not really looking to set any sort of PBs in any distances, but I'm enjoying the running. I'm enjoying the other benefits that you get out of it, like we've touched on, the social side, the mental health side. I do sometimes struggle when, I know a lot of people at Midnight Runners, and they know I've set some all right times in the past, and they'll say, oh, so what are you going for in the big half? And I'll say, oh, well, just kind of go and run. And there is a part of me that feels like I'm letting them down by not being like, oh, I'm pushing it and I'm representing and I'm showing what sort of can be done. But I hope that, the people I speak to do also take away, so it isn't just about that. And there are more, even to people who are fast runners, there are other things that they get out of running, and it's just kind of shifting that focus.
Yeah, I'm starting to set 2 goals at a time. So one is time-based and one is just how I feel about something. So whether it's like I want to be able to run for longer and not have to take a break, or something that's very much, can't really measure it, but then at least I know if I get to a race and I don't make the specific time I want, I would have been training for 4 months and I know I will get to the overall goal that I had, which was to feel stronger or fitter or be able to run a little bit longer than before, just because I think that is the goal that you can keep going with and you're not going to be let down by. And actually that's the more important one in terms of like well-being and health.
You're so right. You're so right. I listened to another podcast actually last week. It was a bit late in the year, but it was talking about kind of New Year's resolutions and how they sort of fail quickly. And actually a nice way to think about it is, rather than setting a specific and almost like, in this case, like a time objective, you set a theme. Yeah. And a theme just means that you have multiple points on your journey where you're kind of checking in with yourself and it's like, well, how do I feel about this? As long as, sometimes you'll have a good day where you'll move towards it. Other times you'll move away from it. But as long as that you're generally trending towards that theme, or so it could be, this year it's going to be the year of health for me, or it's going to be the year of balance, or the year of trying new things. And as long as you're moving towards that, you don't have that kind of pass or fail. and it, like you said, it makes it more sustainable. So.
And it removes the pressure on one day or one event, because I think we put so much on an event.
Oh my God, yeah.
I think you could turn off that day and just not feel that great. For girls, it can like be the time of your month. You might just be a bit under the weather with flu. You might have had a tough week at work, but you've put everything on that one day, and you know it's life, and things don't always. You're
setting yourself
out.
up to fail. It's a really risky line to try and walk. So yeah, I definitely agree with you on that.
And do you think we've kind of talked very positively about setting goals in this way, but do you think there's anything about running that's actually a negative thing for you?
Oh, that's a difficult question.
I think we're kind of, because we love running, we're very quick to jump to it's great because of this, this and this.
Yeah.
And maybe more difficult to recognise when. So for me, I know that sometimes I can, not so much now, but I think last year when I was very set on a time goal for a marathon, I would say no to some social things because I had to train, which I guess you can look at as like, oh, you're so dedicated to your training. Yeah. But actually, I think in the long term, that's not very healthy and not very nice for the people that, you know, you love and care about to say, actually, I can't see you tonight because I've got to do this 20-mile run. Yeah. So for me, that's the negative.
That's a good example. And I've had the same thing. And you know, it's kind of the stuff that you're dedicating almost every day a week. It's either like, you know, morning, evening, or whatever it might be. There's always something that will have to compromise for you to fit that in. Which I think, you know, you're right, it's fine for a time, but as long as you then have you have it in these phases where you'll just set out, like, it's going to be 3 months where I'm focusing, and you kind of are upfront with the people that matter to you, because, you know, we are social creatures, and you know, we need to kind of maintain these connections. So you can't just drop off grid and expect to have the same sort of strong relationship. So yeah, like just being honest with yourself, what you want from it, being honest with other people, and then almost then having a period where, because we're not paid sponsored athletes, we're not
we
elite
don't need
runners,
to be committing our lives to running.
You know, why does it matter? Because I think the resilience you build up in a block of, let's just say, 3 months is fantastic. It's worthwhile. You don't need to do it, you know,
12 months of the year.
Exactly. And you're almost, the negative side is you're missing out on opportunities, and like life is so rich, and you know, we're in this vibrant city of London, and there's so much going on, and there's been times where I've missed something I'd actually quite like to have gone to because it could even be a run the next day that, you know, you've got to prepare for or get like a good amount of sleep for, and it is all consuming. And I think the other negative side that I've found is like running has given me a lot of energy and a lot of kind of health and fitness. So then if I'm going away, like on holiday, I'll almost try and do too much, because it's always like, well, we could do this, like we could run up this mountain, and we could run to this beach and then stop there, and then like if we run to here, then we can get this train back. And it's like, you don't actually give yourself any time just to sort of sit and just to be, because you almost, you know, you have this sort of potential and the desire to explore, but sometimes you need to remember that holidays are about just taking a second and just taking a breath and taking stock of what you've got, and not just doing it because you can.
Otherwise you need a holiday when you come back from your holiday, just to recover.
Which I honestly, like, every time I feel like that happens, it's terrible. But yeah, again, I think that actually just comes with a bit of practice and learning what your body needs and kind of what level it can operate at, and when it's good to just take a second, take that extra day off.
Yeah, so I'm going to put you on the spot. I've ended every podcast by asking everyone the same question, and the question is, if you could sum up how running has changed your life in one word only, what would it be?
Oh, Amy. For the listeners, this 1 hour pause has been trimmed down to a crisp 10 seconds. Purpose. I'm afraid to say that is a Justin Bieber album, I'm afraid. So maybe you're going to regret that choice of word. But thank you for talking to me today and for your word of purpose. Is there anything else you want to add before we wrap up? The only thing I think we didn't touch on, which I'll talk about for like 20 seconds, is like any new hobby, I'd encourage people to take the time to just kind of learn a bit of the nuance of it. Okay. So like running on a surface level is super simple. You put on some shoes, you put one foot in front of the other. but like anything, you can sort of develop sort of bad habits that cause like those niggling injuries.
Yeah.
And you know, I could say that I'm an artist because I can draw a stick man on a piece of paper, but you know, the kind of the nuance and the technique that you learn to get to the next level makes a big difference. And I think for running, a lot of people get put off with niggles and like runner's knee, and it's like, oh, you know, I'm not a runner. And it's definitely worth just spend some time with people who have kind of been to that journey themselves, like, you know, watch videos online, whatever it might be, but just don't be afraid to try and learn a bit more about running as a sport and the techniques that are required to do it in a safe way, because that means you can do it for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and I think obviously people do have problems that mean they can't run, but generally I think we are almost designed and built to run in a way.
Would you say that we're born to run?
We're born to run, exactly. So I think when you do get niggles, especially if they're the same ones that are recurring, it probably is because of a form issue or a technique issue.
Yeah.
And often it's something that if you're aware of, you can fix quite easily if you just take the time to focus on it.
Yeah.
And you're actually really good at pulling me up on certain things. And having been through the run coaching course and learned more about technique and then practicing it more, I do realise how much benefit it makes. And you always pull me up on my arms being in, and it's such a hard thing to change, but actually it's quite important, and it will make a difference if I actually listen to you and work on it.
Like it doesn't seem fun and worthwhile initially, because it's like,
No.
it's not changing something straight away, and I can still just go out and run, but it just means that you can have a more long lasting and healthy relationship with running, and then you're not worried as much about getting injured. You're a bit more in tune with your body. You can do it into the later years of your life, because running is again one of those sports that you can do almost forever.
Yeah, there were 80-year-olds running the London Marathon last year, weren't there? I think a man and a lady.
Pretty inspiring.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for that, James.
Thanks, Amy.
Thanks.
To keep up to date with the latest episodes, follow along using the handle @marathonmedic or visit marathonmedic.com. Thanks for listening.